All right, welcome to another episode of At Even Strength. This is our new women's hockey podcast, Living on Black Rosie Media. Erica L. Ayala, your founder of Black Rosie Media, joined by Angelica Rodriguez. And we are excited. At Even Strength is going to be your all access to women's hockey. Yes, we're going to talk PWHL. Of course, we're going to talk international hockey. We'll get to the NCAA when we can. But we're going to break down the biggest headlines, highlight standout players, and not just from North America. And we'll explore stories that are shaping the sport on and off the ice. So on today's episode, we're going to talk Rivalry series. We are also going to talk a little bit about what we've seen in the PWHL so far, and then get you ready for when the league comes back into action on Tuesday, December 16th. And give you our games to watch. But Angelica, I mean, we just got to get this out of the way. I feel like you and I have talked about it really over the years. I've talked about it with Rachel. I've talked about it with Ava Wood. But what the crap? What the heck is going on? What the hell is happening in Hockey Canada? And is it related perhaps to maybe just not being able to infuse the right mixture of veterans and youth?
I mean, it certainly looks that way. I mean, you look at these two teams side by side, Canada and the US, obviously. With the Rivalry series wrapping up Saturday, it definitely feels like, looking at these two teams side by side, it's very obvious which team has embraced the youth movement a little bit better, which team has kind of adapted and mixed better. Not to say that Team USA is perfect by any means, but they definitely seem to have their stuff together a lot more so than Team Canada, for sure.
And it's wild because there's always this conversation about the United States, Canada really jockeying for the top spot. And overwhelmingly, that has been true. It's been the case, right? And I think there are a few different things that we have to talk about here. But first, let's go over what we saw in this rivalry series, the most recent installment. So this is game 3. As we mentioned, Saturday night, game 4 will happen. So, we're talking in between games right now. But in the 3 games of this installment of the Rivalry series, the United States just recently defeated Hockey Canada 10-4. Hockey Canada has not given up 10 goals, I believe, ever.
Not in a very long time.
And this is just like an outpouring of offense from the United States. We saw Renee Desbiens. We also saw Emmerich Smashmeyer, but also Angelica on the series. So in 3 games, we have seen the United States outscore Hockey Canada 20-6.
That's disgusting. That's just... And it's not for lack of trying, because the shot totals from the most recent game 3 in Edmonton, definitely saw Canada outshooting the United States, and yet they could only manage 4 on Gwyneth Phillips. And, I think the big issue is that all 3 zones are struggling right now. All 3 of them.
Yeah, and I know we talked about this before, actually talking about the Rivalry series, and we have to go into a deep cut because we talked about so much on that episode that I had to break it up into different segments, which I love. But one of the things that we had talked about is in the first installment of the first 2 games in the United States of the Rivalry series, neither team played particularly well. And that was understandable. More NCAA players, more younger talent for both sides. We then heard from Troy Ryan, because Renee Desbiens wasn't on that roster. Jocelyn The Rock not on that roster. Emily Clark, Brianne Jenner. Sarah Nurse was hurt. She was named, but didn't suit up. Which also we're gonna put an asterisk on that. And who Troy is and isn't dressing for games. I don't know, Troy. But so then Ava and I had a conversation on our Seattle Torrent podcast over at the 206 Sports Collective on this. That episode went up on Friday, but talking about, Troy Ryan was like, hey, we wanted to get some young people. I mean, you were at the game in Buffalo, right? You were reporting on this, saying that, the games in Canada will have a different roster, and they want it to be a different vibe. They're in Edmonton, home crowd, presumably, right? And we were like, I got the sense from what you were reporting, because you were at that game, the second game, I got the sense that it's like, all right, we're not worried about it. We're going to have our vets come in.
Yeah.
But they have Larocque. They have Anne Renee Desbiens. They have Jenner and Clarkey. No Sarah Nurse, unfortunately, still week to week. Daryl Watts also week to week because of PWHL play. But it doesn't seem like the things that we were expecting to make the difference, Angelica, have done so, at least with this first game being negative.
Yeah, I feel like, and I mean, I think it's to say, I mean, it certainly hasn't gotten better. In fact, arguably, it's gotten worse. With the level of play, with the level of odd man rushes given up, with the level of just really weird decisions made, not just by the defenders, but also by Desbiens and net. It's just, I feel like, unfortunately, and I hate to say it, it's just, and even in the games that were stateside, I mean, it wasn't necessarily that many young kids on the roster still for Canada. So
right.
It's to a point where, yes, you have all this PWHL talent. You have these players who are very seasoned, and it's not like they don't know each other, but at the same time, you're starting to see, especially with the infusion of NCAA players who have not yet made it to the PW, you're seeing those players really stepping up. Abby Murphy being a great example of that. Tessa Janicki as well. You're seeing these players, whereas, and I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit more, but Chloe Primorano, probably their best bet for the youth movement as of right now in Team Canada, sat out. And, against a team like USA that is full guns blazing, that has a heavy, strong forecheck, that has that strength in front of the net, that still has Hillary Knight. Hillary Knight may have lost a step or two, but that shot still rings true. And so you have all those players, and Kendall Coyne Schofield as well, so you have all of those players. Yeah, you have all of those players in the mix for Team USA alongside these young guns. And even the younger players on that roster, again, at this point, are now starting to get that pro experience. So I feel like Team USA is definitely leaning into that and really starting to build those young players up. And they're starting to, they've found ways to exploit that defense, and I think a big part of it too is just, again, the defense is just not making good decisions. You have two defenders pinching up, your leads to a rush the other way, and you're not helping your goaltender out as at all. So it's very strange. It's very strange to me that they don't feel the need to kind of look to the younger players.
Yeah. And what's also interesting is, and this is something I have toiled with since the last Olympics. So I was in Beijing, really thought what Troy Ryan and Hockey Canada did leading up to that Olympics, given that it was highly compromised because of COVID as far as their preparations, that they spent a lot of emphasis and time getting to know each other as a team when they weren't on the ice together. We also saw that Marie-Philippe Poulin, she changed her leadership approach and wanted to, be held to account. And, I'm sure it's not that MPP, needs to have her wrist, slapped or whatever the case is every once in a while. And when you open yourself up to that vulnerability, it opens up dialogue, conversation. And that seemed to be the glue that kept that team together when, again, it was an unprecedented experience at that Olympics. Whereas the United States, they lose Brianna Decker super early to a gnarly, oh my gosh, that was such a gnarly injury.
That was the ankle injury, right?
Yeah, snapped it.
So bad.
Clear. I mean, I was in the arena, but like you heard her because it was effectively empty, right? No spectators. Right. And right away you were like, oh man,
that's bad. Yeah.
Bad. So that you're dealing with that. I think that, because John Wroblewski, I feel like I always say his name wrong, but
Wroblewski.
How do you say it?
Wroblewski.
John Wroblewski. I feel like Dan Bilesma always saying somebody's name wrong. Anyway, Coach J.
Love it.
Coach J, you know, he came in after, if I'm not mistaken, he came in immediately after that Olympics, but there was a lot of turnover when it came to head coaching. There was just a lot of funky stuff that was happening with USA Hockey. And yet, by the sheer will of their veterans, they got pretty close.
Yeah.
You know, maybe closer than they should have, given that at the time they were still dealing with a coaching staff that, you know, didn't really focus on special teams ahead of international competition. Like, I still can't believe that man told me that. But anyway, I was like, wait, I know I'm like relatively new to hockey, but like, did he just say what I thought he said? Like, ain't no way. Anyway, so but Troy Ryan, I thought, did a good job ahead of the last Olympics. That being said, since the last Olympics, I feel like, and you know, I hate to make it all about age because it's not just age or like seasoned experience, veteran experience, it's having the right mix. USA Hockey and Hockey Canada, at least since I've been following hockey, have always had difficulty kind of letting go.
True.
And some of that is because the way women's hockey operated, Angelica, before we started getting specifically the NWHL competing with the CWHL, which then had everyone step their game up, which then led to the PHF, which then of course led to the PWHL. The consistent reps that you were getting were with your national team.
Right.
And now we're seeing that shift. And so the college pipeline to pro pipeline is a lot more important as far as consistency and getting those repetitions. And so, you know, I don't think that Hockey Canada has figured out how to get the right mix of players. And maybe, I mean, I feel a little ridiculous saying this, but is there something to look into when it comes to also just the discipline of the players on these squads? Because now there's a lot more emphasis that's placed on getting your reps on your own.
Right.
Because we're not seeing centralization and residency anymore.
No.
For college players, that actually gives them a little flexibility because they can be in and out of their college programs. And so again, the consistency is coming from NCAA and then PWHL, not necessarily that team building that you do, again, in those residency and centralizations. And if you ask a Caroline Harvey, she's like, I mean, it's fine by me. I go to class, I step out for a little bit, my professors are great, and then I go and do my national team stuff, and then I am back in the NCAA. Right. But if you talk to veterans, I got to speak to Hillary Knight or Kendall Coyne-Schofield, they're like, yeah, you've got to really do work in your pods. So the pods thing is in the off season, so like in the spring and summer, a lot of hockey players, men's, women's hockey players, they usually operate in these little pods because they live or are operating out of the same area. So they put, I'm sure some of it at least is resources and sometimes maybe through sponsors, but they're pooling resources that they can use ice together at the same time. Yeah. And so they have to do that more. And so I think what we're seeing is that it's a little bit of it's a lot of different things. It's that neither team, but especially perhaps Hockey Canada, hasn't figured out the right mix. And all of this is coming at a time where women's hockey is changing because of the PWHL. I mean, we're seeing that the IIHF has changed their window for world championships, presumably to operate within the PWHL schedule.
Right.
You know, I have questions on how that impacts Euro hockey, which is wild because now once again, European federations are at the mercy of what's happening in North America, but perhaps for another day. But I mean, is this the negative consequence, question mark, of a new league? I don't know.
I mean, I guess so. I mean, I feel also as though this is something that both USA Hockey and Hockey Canada probably should have seen coming, if not did see coming, because obviously with this new professional league is going to come a restructuring. We're seeing it already. We've been seeing it, like you said. We're also seeing it on the way the game is played, with body checking now being introduced in more leagues, and there's whispers down the line that, if all the European leagues and North American leagues follow suit, we could see it in the NCAA, and we could very well see it in the IHF in the next few seasons. So, there's definitely, it's definitely not something that they couldn't have prepared for, is my point. I do believe that, because it was asked again, like I said, in Buffalo, and Coach Robo made it very clear that he expected his players to be hitting those reps, and the players definitely heard that and they definitely responded to it. Whereas I'm not really sure where Troy Ryan stood on that. I'm assuming that he just kind of thought, well, they'll get their reps in the P-dub and they'll see each other enough times that maybe it'll make up for it. I'm not really certain that we're seeing that type of discipline right now. So
yeah, it's so interesting because we seem to be having this conversation in women's basketball. And so I wonder if this is just the trend of sport, where there is more of an emphasis on professional development and individualized professional development. Like Sue Bird talked about how one of the things towards the end of her career that she started doing that she wished she would have done sooner is build up her skill set. And that sounds a little ridiculous, but the point, as I understood it, was that the way that she would work in the off season was very much to be like a good team player and a good point guard. And that's important at her role. Like that high IQ is critically important. But as we move to positionless insert sport, it's not about systems and sets as much as it is that creativity. And so if your skill set doesn't have enough variation, it can limit what you're capable of doing in, again, insert sport. So I wonder if that's also what we're seeing. I'm very curious to ask. Me, I'm like, ooh, I have a question. I'm just going to ask.
It could well be. And I mean, I think we're seeing it again with the development of women's hockey over the past decade. I mean, it's gotten faster. It's gotten way more skilled, even more skilled than it was previously. Not to say these women were ever unskilled, but you know what I mean? It's just as the resources keep coming in for professional development, it's just going to get better. And I think that especially in the NCAA, where the resources are coming in, especially for the big teams, especially as these teams get better, you're going to see these NCAA players be able to adapt a little bit more easily. Whereas, unfortunately, I don't think the same can be said for Canadian U Sports or anybody that is coming in through Hockey Canada, and again, I think we're also seeing it be a little bit of a struggle with some of the other players that are even in the P-dub right now who are on Hockey Canada. I mean, unfortunately, we saw the top pairing of Fast and Laroque get burned multiple times. And that's, I hate to say it, but unfortunately, I think the window is closing for some of these players, not necessarily Fast. I think that, obviously there's a role for her still. But I really don't know about Jocelyn Laroque. I mean, you have to be able to be mobile. You have to be able to be quick. You have to be able to, really kind of aid your team. And if you're not that quick, you at least need to be able to know where you're at and have enough vision to be able to kind of position yourself in a better way. And, she's been struggling with that a little bit. She has.
Yeah. It was interesting to listen to the broadcast because they actually ran a package on Chloe Primerano, who you already mentioned, did not suit up for this third game, is a promising young player, would be the youngest player to make an Olympic team since Marie-Philippe Poulin. And I think play the child, because at this point, I mean, 20-6 through 3 games, I'm thinking your defense needs something. But I like the point that you made. And again, you talked about this when we had our conversation right after you went to the Buffalo series. It's easy, and Sammy Jo did her best to explain this. Sammy Jo and Megan Bozak, actually. But when you say defense is the problem, sometimes I think people hear defenders are the problem. And Jocelyn Laroque, I did low-key defend her on the 206 Sports Collective the other day. And this wasn't a great. That last game wasn't a great time.
She didn't really do much to live up to that, huh?
Yeah. But again, I think that goes Jocelyn the Rock. Do you see her as a rover? Do you see her as a positionless defender, or is she your traditional stay-at-home? I would say she's the latter. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's about personnel. Is she paired with the right partner? Are she and Foss the right pairing at this stage for whatever reason, including given some players like Prue Morano who you might want to incorporate? Because when you have a stay-at-home defender, they can get burned if the rest of the team isn't playing like they are playing with a stay-at-home defender. What does that mean? So the neutral zone, moving things in the neutral zone is different when you have like Sophie Jakes is a perfect example.
Yes.
That goal, I think it was her second goal, one of her goals. They broke it down on the broadcast. She noticed where the play was below the goal line, and so she started creeping in. And because of that, when everyone, including the defense for the U.S., is below the goal line, when that puck shot up, she was in the slot in position. A true stay-at-home defender would never come as far down as Sophie Jakes did. And so, again, there's nothing wrong with either one. And we are seeing the game move in a certain way. That's number one.
Right.
But now, which direction does Troy Ryan want Hockey Canada to move? And do they know that? Because even just looking at this last game, I'm thinking the answer is no.
I don't think they do either. And again, going back to your point, as much as we talk about positionless, insert sport here, like you said, when it comes to hockey, we talk about it more often with defenders assuming offensive positions. We don't necessarily talk about it as much with the latter. I think just as much as you need to have, if you're going to have a stay-at-home defender, you need that mobile defender next to her who can move pucks. If you're going to have that puck-moving defender as well, who's going to pinch and who's going to jump into the play, who's going to read it, whether it's even strength power play, whatever, then you need that two-way minded forward who is then going to slot in and move to the point and be able to catch those pucks if one bounces out of the zone or if somebody makes a good play and clears. You need to have that balance. And, I think that it's just as important for a forward to know what to do defensively to make sure that A, that doesn't happen, and B, when they're in their own zone, she doesn't, hang her goalie out to dry, as it is for a defender who can move the puck up and make those plays and, not get hemmed in their own zone because, they can't get the puck out or whatever.
Right. And that's not even, those are things that, yes, Hockey Canada does need to clean up. What I think for me, what's more troubling is that they're having trouble in the neutral zone. They're coughing up pucks in the neutral zone. They're overcommitting before entering their offensive zone, aka in the neutral zone. And why is that important? Because if you do have puck carrying defenders, right? Or if your defense happens to be carrying the puck, if they miss, if they hit a soft patch on the ice, if they misplay the puck, if they, so many things, if they jostle the puck in the wrong way, they're that last line. As a forward, and this, it's not a foolproof way, but it burns my grits when I see forwards that are skating back on the back check, but just to almost show that they tried instead of actually skating back to maybe try and get a stick on the puck. It's just oh, well, I'm just here. And if they miss, then I'm here. No, you have to haul buns.
Yeah.
Your defense just got blown the F up. You need to haul buns at minimum so that your goaltender knows they can commit to one side because you potentially can lift a stick if the player goes the other way.
Yeah.
That's what your defenders do when they skate backwards, right? Yeah. They'll pick a side, they'll let their goalie know so that the goalie, in theory, won't have to go,
make that lateral movement. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just it's so many giveaways for this Hockey Canada team. they're not hustling back in good position. They'll get stuck below the goal line, and then, nobody realizes, oh crap, we're all down here. What happens if the puck squirts out?
Crap, we're all on one side of the ice, and we're leaving Tessa Janicki at the back door to tap in across ice path.
That to me, yes, it happens. And you give credit to USA Hockey, who I think they moved the puck well in the first 2 games. It's just that the passes didn't always connect, or the finishing touch wasn't there. So it looked a little janky, but because they were trying, right? You could tell that they were trying new things, people in different positions.
Yes.
You could tell that was it was the newness of it all. With Hockey Canada, again, there are buku veterans, at least for game 3, but it doesn't look like, oh, this is a team that, is still learning to communicate, or they don't have that, instinct, that, nonverbal communication. That's not what it looks like. It looks like a team that just has vacated their mind at times.
It's complacency. And it is just, I feel like it's a big failure to adapt. And I think it kind of goes, and I think, again, game 3 was a perfect example of that. I think it was finally a spot where things are starting to click really well for Team USA. And, that 10-4 score, that's a score that you don't see against Canada. That's a score you see against Switzerland or Sweden. You don't see that against Canada, of all teams. And it's almost like Canada is trending backwards. And it's tough because, it's, again, it's really strange. It's really as far as everything goes. And again, if it's 1 or 2 players that do that, I'm a William Nylander defender. He can coast all day if he wants to in the defensive zone. So, if it's 1 player, it's not a big deal for me. But if it's everybody,
nobody looked motivated, or
that's a problem.
They knew what was going on.
Right. And, again, yes, rivalry series, it's exhibition games. I understand that. But again, a little bit of pride when you put that sweater on, girls. Come on.
Brutal. That begs the question, because, they're looking a little Ottawa charged to me. Ooh, sorry, babe.
Oh, no.
And listen. I said what I said. Ottawa got to the final. It wasn't always pretty.
Except Emmerich Mashmeyer was bailing them out there.
Yeah, and then Gwyneth Phillips. So that's actually 2. Speaking of Ottawa, 2 things that I want to talk about. One, unfortunately, love Carla McLeod and have had conversations with Rachel. If things don't improve, does Ottawa have to look at a change? I have felt, and I think we're gonna find out pretty soon. Troy Ryan, Corey Chevery, they've already been announced, right, as the coaches for the Olympics. Barring anything very scandalous that would be unfortunate to talk about, abuse or anything like that. Right. Barring that, I don't see them making a coaching change before the Olympics. So you're working with what you got. And is this like the end of an era? Because I don't see much changing under Ryan and Chevery. And maybe you go even higher, right? When Gina Kingsbury, what's happening in Hockey Canada, and are they doing what it takes to evolve as women's hockey evolves? Because you've got Czechia, who's on the come up, right? They're a top 4 women's program right now. They battle, they're usually within that top 4, top 5. Of course, Switzerland, Sweden, Finland, at times, specifically with Switzerland and Finland, we've seen them be one of the top 2 teams at World Championships or even the Olympics. So,
or at least hit them very, very close to the wire. We've seen that. Sweden has done that as well. On the back of an excellent goaltending performance, they've been able to do that. So, I think the gap is closer than people realize. It doesn't seem that way, but I think the gap is definitely closing.
And has been, right, for a while.
Oh, it has been, for sure, for at least the last 3 Olympics and definitely multiple world championships at this point. I've been seeing that gap shrink. And for all of the issues with Sweden, it seems like they have rebounded for the most part, and they're doing very, much better than, previous years. But I feel like it's just going to really, I think this is going to be a real test to see if Troy Ryan and Gina Kingsbury stay in the conversation, for sure. I think so, because this is not the first 2 games of the rivalry series. I think, yeah, whatever. I mean, you didn't have a full lineup, what have you. Okay. This game, though, is, I think, going to be a big wake-up call.
Yeah, 100%. And that's just it, right?
Mm-hmm.
10 goals against for Hockey Canada, quite literally unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you get got, right? Sometimes you get your butt whipped. Sometimes you're the Las Vegas Aces and you lose to Minnesota by 53 in the regular season, and then you win a championship. Sometimes that happens. Sports is weird. That's why we watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the bounce back for me. If there were any thoughts for Hockey Canada that, oh, these games don't matter, baka baka ba, you have to think big picture, because ain't no way you should be getting embarrassed 10-4.
Especially on home ice.
Oof. And when we were like, oh yeah, we're not worried about it. We're gonna have our home ice, baka baka. Like you said, you set yourself up, homie. So like for me, like you said, you have to play for pride. You always should. And I think, like, forget Olympics, forget the last 3 games. If Hockey Canada cannot figure out how to bounce back and treat this like a mini tournament, they're cooked, as Ava Wood might say. Mm-hmm. They're absolutely cooked. I'm not trying to hear it. Y'all ain't in here. I don't know what you came for, but you ain't come to play.
Our resident Gen Zer, Ava Wood.
Exactly.
No, but I agree. I agree with you. And again, there's so much that is still in question with this Olympics, and we're going to get into it, I'm sure. But I just feel like they got to figure something out quick, because to get embarrassed like that on, I just, again, that was just not. I looked at that score and I was like, huh?
Dog. Well, we got to see what's going to happen with Hockey Canada. I mean, I didn't know where else to go but to start with them, because, like, baby, sure. What y'all doing? That being said, what do we like? I mean, Coach Jay himself said, like how we played against Canada, and we still have things to improve upon. But what did we like from USA? I mean, Abby Murphy, right?
Yeah. Abby Murphy was a big part of it.
She's already got a hattie. She added, a brace, right? So she's got 5 goals. I think she had a 4-point game overall just in game 3. Like, what?
Yeah. And I mean, she and players like Janicki, players like Comfer, they're really leaning in, and I do feel like they're galvanizing some of these veteran players, for lack of a better term. So it's very interesting. I just lost my. Sorry.
Take your time.
I was looking at the roster. Sorry. But again, pairing them with some of these veterans, I think is really kind of lighting a fire. You saw Kelly Panic with 2 goals the other night. So it's really, really interesting. And I think that the mix is there. The mix is definitely there. And I do think that, just, again, not that I feel like they really had to try after a while, because, Canada was just falling all over themselves. But I really do like what I'm seeing, especially from the young players. And again, Gwyneth Phillips in net has been absolutely spectacular. Just seeing what she's been able to do with the opportunities that she's given, it's really, really exciting. I have been a Gwen Phillips stan for a while now, so I think that she is obviously she's a fantastic goaltender, and she's really kind of been the anchor back there, but I just, I like the youth that they have going on. I like that they're giving them shots. I mean, I think for the longest time, I think now it's finally starting to click for them. They're starting to realize, hey, we got to get these kids in here. We got to get them playing time. We have to, bump them up to the top lines, bump them up to the top power play units. They're getting into the jury spots. And I think that's a big part of the reason too, is that the players like Janicki and like Murphy, they're not afraid to get around the net. They're not afraid to kind of, use a little bit of aggression, use a little bit of, spunk, I guess you could say, to, really kind of, make their presence felt. I've always liked that, especially about Confer's game. But also again, Janicki being able to find those spots, being able to get herself open and, not do what she has to do.
Yeah, 100%. I think looking at this team, especially like how they lined up for Friday's game, really nice mix of young players, which then begs the question, who makes this Olympic roster?
Yeah, that's the tough one.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Wilgren looking for spots against Layla Edwards, I thought really starting to own it. Like she already was creating chances in the first 2 games, but then just like the IQ, you're starting to see it gets better every single repetition. I think Layla Edwards has to make this Olympic squad.
Yes, I do think, and I think she is going to make it as a blue liner. I do think that she's going to do that. That's how she gets on this roster. I think if they don't keep her on this team, that's a crime because
that's racist.
Oh my God.
I may or may not keep that in the episode, but
please do. That's hilarious. No, but I honestly, and she's just showing it's not just her size, it's her accuracy of her shot, it's
her whole skill set,
confidence with the puck. It's she's always looking up, she's always looking for the play to make, and it's really fun to watch her. And again, she's one of those players that's wise beyond her years, it seems. So
I think so too. I think she makes it. I think Knight, Carpy, and Schofield, I expect to make the team. Panic. Heisey, I think will make it. Wonder if Abby Murphy will make the squad.
Yeah. No, I think Abby Murphy's a lock at this point.
I think so. I think we have to maybe wonder a little bit about Scams. I think she played a great role position in this game, the most recent game.
Yeah.
Scams, Comfort also on the come up, could maybe be a bubble player. You look at Sims is still an NCAA player, and there's so much already pro talent on this squad that I think even though we're talking about the youth movement, it's again this balance, and USA Hockey's just built a little different. Might be tough for her. Zumwinkle, I think, could be interesting. Probably leaning to making it, but Edwards, I'm taking. I think Keller's gonna go. She's also still an alternate captain. Harvey, I think you grab on the blue line. Barnes, you grab. Steckline, I mean, could be bubble. I hate to say it. And
again, it just makes sense just based on how well this team has been playing. It's just, it comes down to kind of those little things like, okay, am I going to take a player who I know? And I guess it also depends on, I don't want to say the vibe that USA Hockey is going for, but it could very well be the vibe. Or
like the chemistry, the camaraderie. And Steckline is aces in every off-ice category.
Right.
And again, is not, in my estimation, is really not a liability defensively. It's a matter, though, of the style that you want to play. And it looks like the USA style is becoming more, quote unquote, positionless or offensive-minded defenders. That's something we saw Lee Steckline, though, do for Minnesota. That's how they were able to find their way into the final or into the playoffs, because Lee Steckline started getting hot. So I think that'll be interesting. But the real question, actually, and where we see maybe the quote-unquote surprises for USA Hockey might actually be in net.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, I don't see how Gwen Phillips doesn't make this roster. I really don't. You cannot make an argument against her at this point. And I know that sucks because you also have Nicole Hensley to consider, you have Maddie Rooney to consider, you have Erin Frankel to consider. But Gwyneth Phillips has proven she stated her case. And yeah, I don't see how you don't take her. And if you don't take her, you're sexist. Okay, no, I'm kidding.
You are a hater.
You're just a hater. You're Ottawa Charge. You're bigoted against Ottawa Charge players.
We can't mess with it. No, I think Gwyneth Phillips is her style and what we see her doing when she gets significant minutes, aka with Ottawa, is not even her style. What she's capable of doing and what we see her doing as far as making stellar saves. Generally speaking, you don't quote unquote need for the United States until
it's time to play
a medal game, right? But if you're beating Canada 10-4, you know, and like in an odd way, is that a negative? Like, is that a negative thing for Gwyneth? Like, that's a weird thing to say, right? But I don't know how people come up with national team things. Like, I don't know. I'm with you, Gwyneth.
You always need that type of player, though, because you never know what's going to happen. Even if it is something that you're rolling with Maddie Rooney and Nicole Hensley, having a player like, and it's no shade to Erin Frankel, but having a player like Phillips in your back pocket for, God forbid, one of those two to get injured, or let's say something happens and one of them can't make the trip, it's worth having a player like Phillips. And honestly, I would take her as the starter over Hensley and Rooney. I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry. I was about to say
I would. No, I mean, not just because I don't like the Minnesota Frost. It's just because, like, it's... No, it's not because of that. It's
the shade of it all.
Yeah, I know. I just had to. But no, it's not because of that. It's literally because I feel like she's your best bet at this point. And
I agree. I think that Frankel came at a weird time because she got caught behind Hensley and Rooney.
Right.
And, Rigsby, Cavallari, whatever. That was right. Cavallari is the one from Laguna Beach.
We're keeping that in.
Oh man, Rigsby, Alex.
No, I know who you meant. No, and that's exactly it, because I remember even years ago being like, oh my God, why isn't Erin Frankel getting more playing time? Why isn't Erin Frankel getting more playing time? And then Gwen Phillips came along and it's like, oh God, this poor girl is just always the odd one out.
The odd one out.
For me, it would be either Hensley or Rooney in that veteran role, probably Hensley, and both Frankel and Phillips for me.
I agree.
And again, no shade to Eva McNaughton. Sorry, girl.
It's not your time. It's not your time
yet. It's fine.
Like, you still at Wisco. You'll be all right.
It'll come. Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully. I mean, because in goal, USA be stingy AF. They had Alex playing how many months? Like,
true.
4 or 5, I think, and I think I'm being generous, months after having a pretty significant, knee surgery, right? And I'm like,
so. I think it was a ligament surgery as well. It was like, it was pretty legit.
And here's the thing, she did not lose that gold medal for them, which is wild. Like, you coming straight off of, recovery and playing in the Olympics, that's cray. Yeah. And why did she need all of those reps? You know what I'm saying? Like,
true. I mean, and I want to make one more case for Gwen Phillips, is because if you watch her last season playing for Ottawa, she dragged that team, kicking and screaming
100%
into the postseason. Our biggest issue with Team USA has been they do great in the round robin and then fall apart in the clutch. If you do not want that to happen in Milan,
it's clutch.
You need a clutch player like that.
Phillips is hella clutch.
She is the goalie version of Michaela Kava, to be honest.
The clutchiest of clutch.
Yes.
Like, yes. 100%.
Like the way they call Marie-Philip Poulin Captain Clutch, that is Gwyneth Phillips for. And I mean, obviously Hillary Knight, but I'm talking about in goal. I feel like the biggest...
she gives a different edge to this squad, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, the biggest games are decided by your goaltending. I'm firmly convinced.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, we're going to move on a little because we have the next game on Saturday. So next week we'll talk a little bit about that. I'll probably hit it with Ava a little bit. But now let's move on to the PWHL before we give the games that are coming up. So we're on an international window break. It's not just the rivalry series happening. There's a Euro tour. So I believe it's Czechia, Sweden, Finland, and Did I say Switzerland? No. I think those are the teams.
You said Sweden.
Sweden, Switzerland, Finland, Czechia. So this is also their exhibition. Check out Czech Women's Hockey Report. Preston, good friend of the pod, all of the pods that I do, does a great job following that. They also are in action. So here are some things that I have noticed. And I put this on here because, listen, Rachel and I on the last episode, Angelica, we ripped into Vancouver. Like, I'm over here on my Tyra Banks. I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. Like, I was high on Vancouver coming into the season. And then I'm like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
So we were like, y'all better get your life. Like, we were all rooting for you. Don't make me look bad. And then the sirens rolled through and Vancouver was like, oh, y'all think we can't score without sereners? Hold my beer.
Yeah, right. Hold my my quench, please.
So it was great to see Vancouver get some goal support. I am not in love with the goals against, right? If I wanted to try to be like my Canadian friends, like I'm from Canada. But I mean,
getting into Vancouver. I mean,
they were looking a little suspect.
I mean, they're still a little suspect.
But they did get a win. They got a win against New York, so we'll take that. But again, the goals against leave something to definitely be improved upon. Right now in the league, Vancouver has the most goals against. Goals against are 15.
That's oh my god.
15.
That's 3 goals per game?
15.
How many games have they played? Have they played?
Yeah, no, that's it.
They play 5. That's 3 goals per game. Guaranteed 3 goals per game.
Yeah, I don't love that. I don't love that.
Especially when you're not scoring that many. I mean,
well, but that's the thing, which is kind of wild. And again, the most recent game against the Sirens helped this. But in 5 games, they have 10 goals for,
right?
Which is Boston's leading with 11, and then you have Minnesota, New York, and Vancouver with 10. So it's interesting. The Seattle Torrent have the fewest goals for at 5. Don't love that for them either. So expansion teams are struggling on the struggle bus a little here.
Yeah, you know, one in front and one in the back.
Yeah. Right. Listen, what I also find interesting is that Montreal, they've only got 3 games in hand, but a part of the reason that they are up in the standings is because they are very stingy, kind of like we saw last year with giving up points. So they don't give up a lot of goals. They only have 3 goals against. The only team with fewer is Boston.
Wow. That's pretty legit. I mean, it's just weird. Montreal, because I've caught some of Montreal's games, and it's just like, I don't really know how to classify them, because I feel like they're one of those teams very similar to Toronto where you want it, like, that there's more there's more to be desired. There's more in the tank. For whatever reason, they're just not, like, they're not able to reach that yet. And I don't know what it's going to take.
And that's wild because, again, they're the top they're top 2 in the league right now.
Right.
So that's stupid scary if they're not even, which is very possible. Again, they've played among the fewest games, or Seattle is the only other team that's only played 3 games.
Right. And I
And
mean,
so
they did lose a lot of players, but I
they
mean,
did.
so did
I mean,
Boston got
they also
gutted
got
though, and
the mega villain Abby Rock.
yeah.
At least for how she chirps. There's other mega villains for other reasons, but
Yes. But I think we'll get to that. I can't wait to get to that. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, it's just Boston got gutted too, like I said, and they're at the top of the standings. They're undefeated.
I was like, young team, they're gonna try hard. We'll see where they're at. They were like, not trick. We about to take this. We about to run this shit. And I'm like, okay, let me find out.
So I mean, props to Boston again. Hate to give props to a Boston sports team,
between you and Rachel, I can't. Y'all can't stand me.
Okay, I live in Buffalo. I was born and raised in New York City. We just categorically do not F with Boston.
Listen, I grew up a baseball fan and a Mets fan, so Boston don't bother me because I'll just be like, yo, remember when that dude couldn't get the grounder and we won? Yeah, thank you for that. We won the World Series that year. Appreciate you, Boston. Stay Boston.
Well, I mean, Boston still ain't bothering me, so they got some stuff to figure out on the ice too. On the men's side. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So Boston, I mean, they get a coaching change.
Yes.
I mean, Aaron Frankel. 2 goals against, baby. So I mean, like, oh, y'all finna leave me on his roster? I don't know about that.
Like I said, I mean, the only one better than her right now is Nicole Hensley. So, I mean, I feel like that kind of tells you something right there. That
goaltending matters. Goaltending
is important.
Yeah.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, there are some very, very, very talented goaltenders in the PWHL.
100%.
I just don't. A lot of them are American. I don't know what to say.
I mean, facts are facts, as they say in,
it's just, I'm looking at the stats and I'm just like, we got the goaltending position on lock, I guess,
Facts are facts.
No
I mean, the scoring, highest scorer points from the U.S., Kendall Coyne Schofield. Technically tied with Jenner, Panic, Curl, all have 5 points. But Kendall Coyne Schofield leads in goals, 4 goals. Yes. We've got, as far as assists, that's Curl. Goalie stats, as you said, Aaron Frankel is up there, Hensley, followed by Debian, Mash, and Kaylee Osborne. Oof, Kaylee Osborne. Solid. Been solid.
Yes. And she's, again, another player not getting much help.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Kaylee Osborne doing really well because I feel like goaltending has always been tough with, like, New York has always had, like, that problem, I feel like, since, like, day one. Great goaltending, not much anything else.
Not great everywhere else. Yeah, brutal.
So, I mean, at least she's carrying on the tradition for, that cream sugar.
That's one way to put it.
She's carrying the legacy, but, I liked Osborne. I've liked Osborne since her time at Colgate. I watched her at Colgate a little bit, and I always thought she was a solid defender. Didn't get a ton of playing time because, of course, there was just other people there, Hannah Murphy being one of them. So, it's just, and again, the stats for college can be a little misleading because, especially during the years that she was there, Colgate was a wagon in the ECAC. So, obviously, shots matter and shot quality matters, but seeing her being able to withstand the shots that she's taking and at least keep her team somewhat competitive is good. It's good.
100%. All right. So before we get into the games coming up and our pick for game of the week, We'll see if we agree or if we have 2 games of the week. But hot or not. And listen, I've talked to Ava about this. Rachel is the one who put me on, and I was like, all right, I guess I got to check this out. Heated Rivalry. The book series now turned TV show. And I have been watching Heated Rivalry, excuse me. We get new episodes on Thursdays, Thursday night / Friday. So the newest episode is out at the day that we are recording. And my favorite part was seeing the one and only Harrison Brown.
Brownie, yes, very, very excited. You know, it's cool. It's so cool to see, you know, an openly trans man on the screen, and it's just, there's not much more I can say about it. It's just really exciting. You know, I saw the clip, you know, I have yet to watch the show. I know I'm so late, but I'm late. Okay, this is the thing. I don't watch TV. People like think that I'm crazy. I don't watch TV. And if I am interested in a show, if it's based on a book, I have to read the book first. So I'm in the middle of the first book of the series right now. So apologies. I'm not as up on the HR discourse as everybody, but just again, just blatantly
brownie.
You know, it's awesome. It's great. And you know, he did great. It's
plays for Boston in the series. Just
yeah, that's
because he's teammates with Ilya.
Oh, Ilya is the funny one, right?
I mean, I think he's funny. He's the Russian one.
The Russian one, yeah. Well, no, really?
I'm just saying. I was like, some of them are funny, but I don't know. I've never read the book, so I don't know how they're categorized other than what I'm seeing.
Listen, I have yet to get to him again.
So how does it? Okay, so tell me, because I haven't read any of the books. How do the books go? Because we're starting to either see or like there was a character they made mention of, and I was like, wait, but I thought that other guy was named something else, and I was like, no, his name is something. I was like, so who is this guy? So I feel like they're introducing someone. I'm one of those people because I do watch film and not as much series. I prefer film, but I'll watch a series every once in a while. But because I watch a lot of film, I notice things and how to push a story forward, and I'm like, oop, that sounded important. What, like, you know, I need to know. And then if it's based off of a book or something, then I'm like, oh, I can just figure out who these people are.
Sorry, I was looking for something, and Quinn Hughes is apparently being traded to Minnesota.
Oh shit. I feel like maybe 4 days ago, somewhere in the 2 to 4 days ago, I saw something in passing and I was like, Quinn Hughes' days might be numbered because he was in Vancouver, right?
Yes.
I didn't think it was real though. I was like, okay, like
everybody was talking about Jersey because his brothers stay there. Yeah. Oh my God, y'all caught a historic moment in real time with my face.
And anyway, I don't even usually care about the boys hockey.
Yeah, usually I don't, but
that's kind of big.
So I'm gonna be so honest with you.
Well, he won't be in the Pacific Division anymore, so that's fine by me.
No, he's gonna be in the Central Division where the freaking Avs play. Oh,
you're probably now, babes.
Yeah, it's all right. We're still winning the cup, so
yeah. So are the Kraken, and it's going to take overtime because apparently that's all we know how to do is play overtime. Listen,
all the Avs know how to do is lose in overtime. So
overtime. Yeah, like it's been a minute since I'm not with the other network. So Vancouver in the basement, baby.
Ooh. Yeah. I don't know how much better they're going to be now. So I'm going to be so honest with you. I'm only 10% into the first book. I haven't been working so much.
No, that's fine.
I've gotten to learn Kip, Scott, obviously.
Scott.
A
Okay.
couple of
So they're introduced early
teammates.
because in the series and see that's what I'm interested in. I figured it was something like that. Just how I'm definitely gonna have to edit this, but I figured it was something like that because again, I just pick up on patterns because I watch a decent amount of film, and I was like, it's interesting how they're introducing these characters. So you don't know who Ilya or not really yet, like Ilya
Not yet,
and
no.
Shane.
I also not really. No, Shane Hollander, right? His last
Hollander,
name.
yeah. So those are the first two in the series.
Okay, I've seen him on Twitter, but I don't know anything about them in the books.
In the books,
I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're combining books. I don't know if they just.
I'm gonna have to read the books. I'm just gonna have to read the books now because now I need to know because now the way my brain works, I like need to be able to map it out.
I mean, it's hockey romance. You'll fly through it. It's just apparently it's really, really smutty is all. The first book, really according to my friend Emily, is light on plot and heavy on the smut. So I'm just like, great, because I'm
more
reading
smutty than Bridgerton. I did go down the rabbit hole with the Bridgerton series. I'm not even gonna lie.
Listen, this is a welcome palate cleanser because I'm reading We Breed Lions right now by Rick Westhead, and it is heavy. So I need a little bit of a palate cleanser.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
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 Still in hockey family, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit, unfortunately. I'm juggling like 10 books right now. It's crazy because I just have so many I want to get through. But anyway, I'm reading that now.
Here for it. Congrats, Brownie. We love
Brownie.
Friend of the show always. Britta Curl-Salemi gave an interview to the Athletic / New York Times. And
I read it, yeah.
Okay. So I will ask you about it. So, and she's been a topic of conversation because of mostly the things, right, Angelica, that she will like and share on social media. And then when asked about those things, maybe at best, her comments have been ambiguous or on the side of dismissive. But it seemed like the article or the person who did the interview really wanted to give her an opportunity to talk through this. So as someone who did read the article, how, if at all, do you feel that Britta addressed what we know to be the conversation around her? And I think it's two parts, right? Because there are the things that she presumably supports and stands for, but then also the reason that she comes up also in hockey is because of kind of her goon antics on the ice.
Yes. I mean, she's gotten suspended more times than I can count at this point. Which again, I read the article and I had a lot to say about it on Twitter. So those of you who do follow me on Twitter probably already know how I feel. I don't believe that it was addressed well at all. And it's not a surprise that it wasn't addressed well because I think anytime an athlete comes under fire for something like this, it's immediately a defensive response. It's immediately I'm not really like that. With Britta, it was the the argument, which we have just now heard over a year after the fact, mind you. The argument is, well, I use my likes to save or bookmark things so I can look at them later. It's not necessarily something that I agree with, which bookmarks have literally existed on Twitter for a very long time. I don't even know how many years, but trust me, I know bookmarks have. Yeah, exactly. So that was the first argument that I was like,
okay, but like, see, my follow-up would have been like, okay, so you wanted to bookmark and save these. So what, in going back to those, have you learned about this topic?
Yeah.
And we didn't get that. We didn't get that. Okay.
No, we didn't. Okay. I will say this.
Seems obvious, but
I think that the writer of the article, who was Haley Salvian from The Athletic, by the way, and I mean, I'm saying her name because I don't care, but
it's women's hockey, The Athletic. We know who wrote it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Haley didn't necessarily I don't think that she asked the necessary follow-up that I would have. But again, that's something that I think comes with the territory when it comes to a lot of mainstream media and these topics, which, I mean, again, I'm not saying is a good thing. I'm just saying it's kind of par for the course.
Yeah.
What I would say is I don't think she necessarily, I think that she came under fire a little bit for coming off like she agreed when I don't necessarily think that she did. She depicted exactly what Britta said. She depicted what Britta wanted us to believe. She said Britta Curl insisted on certain things. I don't necessarily think that she was endorsing those things, but I would have liked to have seen some legitimate pushback on some of the ideas, because again, it's the situation of, well, I didn't necessarily, because again, this whole argument of, oh, well, that's just how I use my likes, that didn't come up at any point when she made her little apology on camera to PWHL fans after her draft. It didn't come up in the press release that the Frost put out. It didn't come up in any other conversation up until now. So that to me is a big old BS, because again, I don't think that somebody who uses Twitter that much doesn't know that bookmarks exist, number one, and that bookmarks are private, by the way, I'm pretty sure. And two, I just don't, if that is the case, then we would have heard about it by now. We would have, but it sounds like just another excuse. As far as some of the other points that she tried to make, she tried to insist that she's not transphobic. Her teammates were making some really interesting defenses of her, saying, well, she's never been anything but respectful to us, to which I respond, okay, but bunch of people that I work with and talk to on a regular basis are kind and respectful to me to my face, because they know better than to come at me with some bigoted BS. So of course she's going to be nice and respectful. And also there's something to be said for the bias of proximity. So I mean, obviously she's not going to want to beef with you if you're in the locker room with her every goddamn day.
That's also the case. And without trying to make this necessarily a sweeping indictment of other hockey players, although, again, Ava started having that conversation, and I think it's worth continuing that conversation about hockey culture and women's hockey culture on certain things. Yes. My other follow-up would be with regard to, the teammates. How many times in her career knowingly for Britta or for the public has she actually had a trans teammate?
Right.
Because if the argument is that she's transphobic, and teammates who do not identify as trans are saying, well, this has never been an issue for us, I guess my thing is, well, would it have been? No. I mean, and of course, people can say things about communities that don't exist in a locker room, and then you have an opportunity to take that multiple ways, including, hey, that's not how I get down. Like, can you pull it?
But it also shows a little bit of the, for lack of a better term, blind spots of some of the, players in question who are defending her, or who are at least making it clear that she's never been disrespectful to them. Because I think the big issue, too, is that a lot of people conflate gayness and transness, and those are two very different things. I identify as a bisexual queer woman. I am not somebody who identifies as trans. Therefore, I can't say whether or not something is offensive to the trans community if I don't know about the nuances and the cultural impact of that specific sub-community within the LGBTQ plus umbrella. That's just the simple fact of the matter. It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm just looking to be offended. It has nothing to do with the fact that, I do care or don't care, or whatever the case may be. Just simply put, I am not part of that community, so I don't understand the impact and the angle at which I should be looking at this, the way a trans athlete would, the way somebody who is a fan in the stands who is non-binary or genderqueer or any label of that nature would. So when you have these athletes saying, well, she's nothing but nice and respectful to me, it's like, okay, that's great. But what does that say about what you view? Like, what does that say about your worldview? What does that say about the things that you talk about? What does that say about how much did you really know about the situation? And upon finding it out, what kind of conversation did you have with your teammate to let her know, hey, you know, these are some of the things that I've noticed. These are some of the things that I do or do not agree with. You know, who is really having a conversation with her? I don't think many people have. People are also kind of really quick to say, oh, well, you know, she's a child. Okay, yes, she is, 25 now, about to be 26, whatever the case may be. This girl is married. This girl went to college. Yes, she went to a very white college, Wisconsin, I understand. But you can't tell me that in the number of years that she spent there, you can't tell me that in the number of years that she has been playing hockey, she hasn't encountered somebody who is different from her or has different views from herself that she could not learn from. So, and if that's the case, then she really needed to find some other places to do her research or work or play or wherever. So my point is that people in the community exist where you least expect them. You know, not every blue-haired feminist you come across lives in New York City. Some of them live in Oshkosh, Nebraska. Like, some of them live in Paris, Texas. Some of them live in, you know, Yukon, Oklahoma. There are queer and trans people everywhere you look. And so especially in the information age, you know, she grew up in the 2010s. She is hitting her early 20s now, or mid 20s now. She has grown up with the internet. So quite frankly, I don't want to hear it.
And I mean, yes to all of that. And to amplify something that Ava said, thinking that you're not transphobic is not the same as not being transphobic.
Right. And then again, this is not just about Britta Krall-Salemi. It's not just about the PWHL. It's about broader society in general. And I think that a lot of these apologies or a lot of these clarifications tend to utilize plausible deniability. You want to present things one way so that you can then go back and say, oh, well, no, I didn't mean it like that. I meant it like this. And I think that a lot of these people need to realize that we are a lot smarter than that, that we are a lot more in tune with the issues, and we're not going to stand for it. You know, same thing with the point that Haley Salvian made in the Athletic article about the fact that, okay, well, players in the NHL, it might slide a little bit more. Listen, not with the fan base, okay? Maybe the general fan base, maybe like the average dude in Cheektowaga watching on a bar stool somewhere on Genesee Street. But to those of us who are logged in, who are locked in, to those of us who, again, watch the PWHL, and also watch the NHL and also watch other leagues and other sports, but also consume other things and don't exist in a box, we all know what it is. We all know the deal. We are very much open to calling these players out, holding them accountable, calling the organizations out. Look at all the Hockey Canada 5 players that are getting signed to contracts in every single league imaginable, including the NHL. You know, we have not stayed quiet about that. So, you know, I think that the same people have been speaking up. And so when you start to notice those patterns and you start to notice, okay, this is what's going on. They're going to deflect, they're going to defend, and they're going to employ a plausible deniability so that they can get out of whatever snag they're in. And quite frankly, I'm done with that. It's over. It's been BS from day one.
Exactly.
And, you know, I think that the fact that we're even having this conversation and the fact that we have to kind of break this down is just proof positive of how much hockey culture impacts all genders.
And for me, I suppose I just don't completely understand the conscious choice to make such a big deal about trans people, like at all, like their existence. We're not I don't. It's kind of how people feel about Palestine. Do you feel like people will ask? Do you feel that Palestine has a right to exist? It's like, what kind of question is that? Palestine does.
They do exist. They do exist. They're here. They've been here. But that's exactly the thing, is that, you know, when it comes to, and that was another point that she tried to make, like, I support everybody's right to live however they want, but it's about the fairness of competition, which, again, I want that phrase to die in a fire. That just proves to me you haven't paid attention to any of the arguments. You haven't paid attention to any of the studies.
Sound bites that are used, and they're manipulated to mean they are saying one thing, but it's a dog whistle.
Oh yeah,
for other things.
I'm giving everybody homework right now. Read Dog Whistle Politics by Ian Haney Lopez right now. Find that at your local library.
Right. Because the fairness, you know, we look at Jessica Platt and Harrison Brown in hockey, in women's hockey very specifically. Mm-hmm. You know, another thing is fairness in hockey. What does that even look like when the PWHL doesn't have a policy, at least not one that's been made public? So what does fairness look like?
And this is something that I mentioned as well. And again, this goes back to hockey culture permeating both men's and women's hockey, is that the PWHL has no plans for a gender inclusion policy, and it is season 3. We are 4 or 5 games into season 3, and we have yet to hear anything about that, but we have heard how many whispers and words and podcasts and announcements about all of these expansion teams that are going to happen in the next 2 seasons. Right. If they wanted to, they would do it. And they just don't want to, because it's not feasible for them. It's not marketable enough for them, the way that a takeover tour is, the way that 2 new expansion teams each year is. It's not something that they look at as able to make them money, and therefore they don't care. And that is how they are no better than the NHL. And I need people to realize that. When it comes down to it, people want to put the PWHL under this kind of like into this feminist lens. And I'm not saying that that's not valid, okay? There certainly is a modicum of that is valid. But we need to really, really consider the idea of how women's hockey operates under white feminism. White feminism is the concept of feminism that only benefits the dominant caste. It has no interest in trans liberation. It has no interest in queer liberation. It has no interest in any of the myriad of issues that plague Black women, other non-white women, trans women, anybody of a different group. And they look at it in terms of, and I'm getting to a point, I promise. They look at it in terms of what is going to make us the most capital. Because if we have the most capital and we accrue enough wealth to compete with the boys, that's what makes us powerful. That is what makes us equal to the men. That's where their focus is at.
There's so many things. First of all, I rebuke the term white feminism, because if it's feminism, it doesn't need a qualifier. So white feminism is not a real thing as far as I'm concerned. I just, you know, I know why people use the term, but perpetuating the term for me is just not something I'm interested in doing. You're either a feminist or you're not, because feminism stands up for all women. And so I think the piece that I'm taking away is that, and what I've always known, is that when you operate movements within the mold of uber capitalistic sports entities, the terms, they don't hit.
They don't mean anything. When you market something, it loses its meaning, essentially. So when you turn something into something that's easily monetizable, which everybody is doing these days, everything is monetizing.
100%. And silly, because we're humans. Yes. For my last email, we're all humans, in case you missed it. Too long, didn't read. I mean, yeah, we're going to be silly. We're going to be a little stupid. And we're coming with the heart always of openness. And if that means that we got to check each other, like I like there are times where I'm like, yo, I didn't even know that. And I used to say this. And again, I can make a choice. If someone is bringing this up and they say, this is harmful to my culture, how I identify, it's, it's cultural appropriation. I have a choice. And I hope that I make, and sometimes you just don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know. But when someone brings that to your attention and you still choose to be harmful, then
or you choose
own
to
it.
be deliberately obtuse under the guise of, oh, I support everybody's right to live. Do you really?
Right. It's like, so you're not being all the way live. Like, you're not being right. You just don't want to be held accountable.
Please be for real. Yes, please be.
You don't want to be held accountable.
Exactly.
You want to believe what you believe and not catch these hands.
Right. But that's not how this works. So and it's the same thing with the other, big topic in the PWHL this week was a group of fans asking the Toronto Scepters to decolonize the name Scepters because of the long history of the Crown messing with Indigenous people.
And honestly, not something I even thought of, to be honest.
Right.
And
it's
then
not something I thought of
either. I was like, oh, honestly, why didn't I think of this?
Exactly. And it's something that I didn't think about either. But again, you have people in the comments and replies and quote tweets and all that good stuff. Oh, you're just looking for reasons to be offended. Maybe if you're, and the fact that I've been seeing that from people who otherwise claim to be progressive, check yourselves. Seriously. This is not your lane to be in right now.
It's wild. It's wild. But I'm glad you brought that up. Shout out to Shireen Ahmed. We love you. Yes. Also, talking of Shireen, shout out to Burn It All Down, who is on their way back. In case you haven't seen it, let's go, Flamethrowers. Where you at? Where you at? So happy that the crew is getting back together. And yes, so these are the kinds of conversations that y'all can expect, especially when Angelica and I get on the mic. Before we leave, though, let's go ahead and give our games to watch. So coming out of Rivalry series, we will have 5 games between Tuesday, December 16th and Friday, December 19th. We usually record on Friday, so that will be before the next episode. So we have Ottawa at Vancouver. Then we have Montreal at Toronto. Then we have Boston at New York. Ottawa also will take on Seattle at Climate Pledge Arena, and Boston will also take on Minnesota. Oh yeah. So Ottawa and Boston are double dipping this week coming out of the international break. Is there a game here that you have as your game to watch, and tell us why?
Yeah, definitely that Boston-Minnesota game. I mean, Minnesota has a couple of big wins under their belt. Boston's at the top of the league. Those are the 2 big dogs right now. So that is definitely the game that I think everybody should have circled. That is Friday, December 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Again, Minnesota will be on home ice. So that will also be something to consider. And we will see if they are the ones to knock Boston off their high horse here, because
it could be. That's going to be fast.
Very well could be. Yeah.
Fast on fast. Good goaltending. All American, if that's your vibe. If you want to be patriotic, America, then watch that one. I'm just giving people options. I didn't say that's what I'm going to do. See, like, I'm not going to be overly patriotic. And if that's your vibe, do you, boo? Do you? But if you don't want to do it, as one of my Instagram followers would say, then don't do it.
So no.
So flipping that, you took the top teams, a jockey for that number 1 spot, perhaps, because Montreal is still in the mix. So, but Minnesota could definitely jump a few spots. For me, I'm taking the Oppo, not only because it's the first game coming out of the break, but also because it's from the bottom. It's among the bottom dwellers. Can Vancouver score? You know who's a good test? Ottawa.
I mean, regardless of who's starting in net, I mean, that's going to be a real fun one for them. But
I mean, both of these teams need to show a little more.
Oh, absolutely.
They have to show a little more here. So Vancouver was able to get that win against the Sirens. They're going to take on an Ottawa team that we know can score quickly in bunches.
Yes.
That's their MO, but they also leak goals in bunches. And so for me, the team that shows that they can actually play defense, like as a collective unit, is probably going to win.
Yeah.
It might take us to overtime, but somebody gonna make a stop at some point.
Watch
right?
it be like a 1-1 game heading into overtime.
Oh my gosh. I'll be like, you know what? I can't with that. So that's my game to watch, because somebody's got to start creating separation in the bottom. And I really want to see Vancouver start to get their life together. Tuesday, December 16th. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because it's in Vancouver at the Pacific Coliseum. I hear that place gets loud. Y'all be getting litty in Vancouver. Let me find out, to the point where, we want to be regulating bathrooms. They were like, you know what? We're turning some of the men's rooms into women's rooms to accommodate our fan base. Thank you.
Wow. The NHL could never.
Would never.
Would never, no.
Would never in life. So that's my game to watch. Either way, it's going to be a good slate. As I said, Boston and Ottawa. Boston and Ottawa will play 2 games that week. Seattle, just the one. Their schedule is really cray-cray.
I think that's a big part of the reason why they're not doing that well either.
Like,
they don't have
a game and then a week and a half.
It's like the Buttes from their last season.
I remember that. We talked about that. That was crazy.
Yes, when the Buffalo Buttes could not get more than like 1 game. And then when they did have two like games, or like I think 2 weekends in a row, one of them got canceled due to snow.
I remember that. Yeah. A time. What a time. But those are our games to watch. Let us know in the comments, what are your games to watch? If you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe to Black Rosie Media on YouTube, all of our social media platforms. That's where you will either find the full video episode or some short clips, depending on what platform. And also, we have all of our Black Rosie Media podcasts now available on audio platforms. So your favorite audio and podcast platform, you can find us. And if you want to go directly to the source, you can go to Transistor FM. There's a link in the show notes, and again on social media, where you can go to our landing page and check out all of our shows. This, of course, is at Even Strength, but we have Tempestagi Talk. We have, which is a part of the 206 Sports Collective, which of course is Seattle-based. We also have Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans, and so much more. But for Angelica Rodriguez, I am Erica L. Ayala, your founder of Black Rosie Media. This has been At Even Strength, our women's hockey show on Black Rosie Media. And I'm just going to take this for all of our shows now. I used to say this on my Kraken show, which now is also a part of 206 Sports Collective. But I'll take it and use it for all of our shows. A reminder, please, 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 find a moment, even if it's just a moment, to be kind to yourself. Start there. Self-care, self-respect, all of the things, start there first. And when you have that energy and that space and your boundaries set, please do extend that kindness to others. Until then, again, for Angelica, Erica L. Ayala here, catch us on the next episode, and we'll see, can Canada actually get a win in the Rivalry series? You'll have to tune in next Saturday to At Even Strength, where we will recap that. All right, enjoy your Saturday. Let's see what Canada and US do in the Rivalry series tonight. Until then, peace out, everybody.